lot of news over this past week. The main one being the New York Giants have officially acquired the 10th overall pick in exchange for star defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence. Now, I have very mixed feelings about this trade because as a Giants fan, I love Dexter Lawrence. He has consistently been one of our, if not our best player on the team. So losing him is obviously going to put a big gap in this defense. We are now going to have to actively look for a replacement at defensive tackle, which is a harder position to replace, especially considering it isn't the strongest draft class for D tackles. You have guys like Peter Wood, Caden McDonald. They look solid, but they're all late first, early second guys. They're not going to be the high top 10 picks that the Giants now have two of. So, my at least hope is that Caden McDonald falls to us in the second. That would be ideal. That's who I want the second round pick for the Giants to be. I also would like to see us pick up Shelby Harris and or DJ Reader out of free agency. They are cheap guys that we're going to be able to get on veteran minimum contracts that are going to put in the work and going to be solid options at defensive tackle while we don't have a superstar there. It also means that Abdul Carter is really going to have to step up this season. He's going to have to prove why we spent a third overall pick on him because now we don't have Dex to take up double and triple teams, which means Carter's going to get tested more. Burns is going to get tested more. Carter's going to get tested more. We actually look unlikely to trade Kayvon Thibodeau now that we've gotten rid of Dex, so Kayvon's going to get tested more. It's going to come down to if the edge rushers can provide enough pressure without Dex, because we don't know if that's going to happen. We've had Dex for 7 years. It's been so long since we haven't had that dominant presence. So, based off last season, where Dex was kind of a non-factor, however, had the highest double and triple team rate in the league, it's definitely going to be more difficult, but I still see our guys getting home. I think having two elite edge rushers definitely makes it more manageable, and if we can pick up those veteran guys or even get Caden McDonald in the draft, then I think we're set. We have a solid D-tackle core heading into the season. Some more news to cover. We're going to have a mock draft after this segment, like I said. The Rams released a new tweaked uniform and logo. There's really not much of a difference, I'm not going to lie. I can't even fully see what the difference is in the jersey. The only difference with the logo is that now it's all yellow instead of like yellow and blue and white. Kind of a minor rebrand. It doesn't really mean much, especially considering the Ravens just got a completely new rebrand and their jerseys look amazing. The new Ravens jerseys look great. The Commanders jerseys got a rework, and as a guy that hates the Commanders, they are clean. They are so nice. They kind of went back to the Redskins, like, yellow accents. It looks so good. It looks so good. The Ravens, they have all purples, all blacks. They have an all-black helmet, which looks awesome. I love their new jerseys. Both the Ravens and the Commanders cooked. So, Giants, it has been long enough. Can we please get a rebrand? Even if it's just making the legacy jerseys the homes, the color rushes the aways, and then giving us the red alternate. Please. We need some sort of rebrand. We are entering a new era of Giants football with Harbaugh. We need to usher it in with new jerseys. Please, can we get new jerseys? That would be incredible if we can make that happen. Bit of contract news. The Texans are making Will Anderson the highest paid non-quarterback of all time. He receives a 3-year, $150 million deal. It includes a no-trade clause and has a guaranteed amount of $134 million. So, Will Anderson got the bag. Rightfully so. One of the best defensive ends in the league, and he's still so young, still has so much potential. Even though he is already at the top of the league in terms of his position, he still could be better. The 3-year deal, I don't know how I feel about that. I would have liked to lock him down on a more long-term kind of option, but I understand it. They get their guy for another 3 years. They're now paying a lot of money because if you remember, Danielle Hunter on the opposite side is making $40 million over the next year. So they are paying a lot of money to their defensive ends, which I don't know if that's necessarily the way to go, especially considering how inept your offense looked at times last season, but hey, defense wins championships, I guess. Up next, Cardinals quarterback Jacoby Brissett, who is only set to make $9 million, will be holding out of offseason workouts as he seeks an extension, giving him starting quarterback money, which, fair enough. The guy's going to start. He wants starting quarterback money. I understand. You know, you can't really fault the guy. There's plenty of situations where it's like, dude, you don't need a new contract, or like you could take a little less money, especially with the Dex thing. The Dex thing, that is a whole can of worms because he wanted $30 million a year from the Giants. The Bengals gave him $28 million a year, which is what we offered. I just don't understand. Like, his whole issue was that there was a culture problem, that he didn't like how the team was run. So the 1 year where we actually fixed that issue and we completely revamped the coaching staff and the managerial team, now you want out. And now you're taking less money from other teams to not be with us. I don't know. I think that Dex has kind of tarnished his legacy as a Giant with how he decided to exit. I still love the guy. I'm going to miss him, obviously. But it leaves a sour taste in my mouth seeing the way that he left, and just going to have to live with it. Wish him the best of luck. The Bengals will really appreciate having an elite defensive piece like that. Trent Williams has been subject of a lot of rumors considering that he may be cut by the Niners, but that was laid to rest after he signed a 2-year, $50 million extension with the team. The Niners keep their all-pro offensive tackle. Trent Williams gets another 2 years in the game, and I think this is a good move for the Niners because as of right now, they still have a lot of positions they need to fill. They got to get another receiver or two, especially considering Ayuk is probably on his way out. Kittle's getting older. They might want to pick up a tight end. They need to bolster the interior offensive line as well as find a replacement for Trent Williams, which is why they kept him for another 2 years. They need to get replacements on defense at edge rusher and corner. There is a lot that the Niners have to work on, and securing a guy that you know is going to be able to plug in and play at an elite level, just having that level of reassurance means a lot to a team that needs to find a lot of pieces. So I like this re-signing. It locks down a position that they would have had to worry about replacing on top of many other things. This is a good move by the Niners. This is another good move, and I usually don't give the Cowboys credit, but I've been a big fan of kickers. I've been very outspoken about how I feel like kickers are not appreciated enough, especially in a day and age where they can just bang 60-yard field goals like it's nothing. And the Cowboys made it known that it's just as important as I say it is by giving Brandon Aubrey the highest paid kicker contract in NFL history. They signed Brandon Aubrey to a 4-year, $28 million deal. I think it is worth every penny. I would still trade a first-round pick for Brandon Aubrey. Maybe not a high one, maybe like a mid to late first-round pick. But I would still trade a first for Brandon Aubrey. That is an automatic field goal from 60 yards, give or take, pretty much. That is so insanely important, especially considering now, touchback, you can start with the ball on the 35, meaning you only have to go 20 yards and you're in field goal range. It opens the door to so many more scoring opportunities. I find it insanely important, more important than some of the skill positions on offense or defense sometimes. So, well-earned money by Brandon Aubrey. Very, very well-earned. A bit of hopeful news for the Giants fans in the stream. Odell Beckham Jr. is in the building at the Giants facility. He was there for a workout yesterday and stayed overnight so they could monitor his recovery and see how his body recovers after a full day of playing football. I really hope we bring him back. OBJ, that's my childhood, man. Those 4 years that I grew up with him as our receiver, he was so good. I know that he's nowhere near that level anymore, but for pure nostalgia purposes, and also for the fact that wide receiver depth is much needed. I love Malik Neighbors, don't get me wrong, but it can't just be him, and I don't trust Darius Slayton. I know we got Darnell Mooney. I know we got Calvin Austin. I wouldn't mind bringing in a veteran presence to mentor all of those guys, and OBJ would be perfect for that. Knows his way around the team. The workout went well from the reports that came out of it, so he can still ball. I think that there's no harm in bringing him in on a vet minimum and then ripping the number 13 off Jalen Hyatt's back and giving it to OBJ because, oh my God, does Jalen Hyatt not deserve the number 13? And then final bit of news for the week. The Rams and MVP quarterback Matt Stafford have made significant progress on a new extension that would keep Stafford in the building for the 2026 offseason. I don't see why not. You know, I know he's getting up there in age, but he's coming off of an MVP season where he took you to an NFC championship game, and they have done nothing but get better. The Rams have had a phenomenal offseason. They saw their position of need, which was corner, and proceeded to trade for Trent McDuffie and sign Jalen Watson. They addressed their issues so quickly, and their team is looking scary good, especially that defense. And you pile that on top of the fact that they have the Falcons' first-round pick. They're picking relatively high in the draft. The Rams are going to be an unbelievably scary team next season. I am really liking the way that they're shaping up. With their pick, I could see them going receiver. I could see them going linebacker. I could see them going safety. But whatever the decision is, the Rams are going to be a force to be reckoned with next season. I think a lot of the NFC West is going to be that way. And I mean, that's usually the case. The Seahawks, defending Super Bowl champs. Rams coming off of an NFC Championship appearance. Niners coming off of a divisional round appearance, and that was with their entire team injured. So imagine once they're healthy. The NFC West is going to be the best division in football once again. I'm sorry, that's just the way it's going to be. That division is insane. Even the Cardinals, I think, have potential. Are they going to do well? I don't know. They're in a very difficult division. I don't know if they're going to get many divisional wins. However, I think Jacoby Brissett is very underrated. I think that they can very much bolster the team in the draft, and I have them bolstering their offense in the mock draft that I'm about to go through after our first ad break. They still have Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Trey McBride. They have the offensive weapons. So I think the Cardinals could string together a couple upset wins. I think they could surprise a couple teams, put up some trap games, you know. I just see the NFC West being a difficult division for everyone else in the league. And, I mean, there's evidence to back it up. They were last season, and most of the teams have maintained or at least stayed semi-close to the level of talent that they had last season, if not got better. So I'm very fearful of the NFC West. I think that they are going to be a very scary division next season. So, we're going to head into our mock draft now. This was the first one where I actually had a trade happen. It wasn't anything crazy, but I feel like why not? Let's make things interesting. This is going to be, in my mind, an unbelievably important draft. I think that this is some of the best talent pools that we have seen in a very long time. I think that there are some athletic freaks in this draft, and it's going to have the opportunity to bolster teams very, very much. A lot of teams are going to get their missing piece in this draft, and I cannot wait for the Giants to make their 2 top 10 picks come Thursday. Before we get to any of that, though, we're going to head into our first set of underwriting announcements. As always, the recipes have all been submitted for 1077 The Bronx first ever Build the Ultimate Bronkwich contest. The culinary team at Ryder Dining Services has evaluated each recipe in their test kitchen and have chosen this semester's Magnificent 7. Go to 1077thebronx.com/buildabronkwich recipes to see which Bronkwich made it into our lunch bag. Then go to our Instagram at 1077thebronx.com to watch, like, and comment on all 7 IG reels. The 3 student reels with the most views will make it to the Tasty 3, and then the Build the Ultimate Bronkwich finale on Tuesday, April 28th from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. inside Cranberries and at Muller's Pub. We'll be back with more Football Squared after these underwriting announcements on your 3-time 2026 Intercollegiate Broadcasting System Media Award winner, 1077 The Bronx.
Wake Up Rider and other programming on 1077 The Bronx.
1077 The Bronx has very exciting news. Our new video stream is officially live. Now you can listen to The Bronx on air, online, and on app now. Watch your favorite student shows live on The Bronx YouTube channel and Facebook at 1077 The Bronx, including What's Next Sports, Talk of the Town Sports, Bronx After Hours, The Concast, Cliff Notes, and Wake Up Rider. Keep it tuned to The Bronx to listen to and to watch your favorite student shows. Welcome back to Football Squared on your 5-time National Association of Broadcasters Marconi Radio Award nominated station, 1077 The Bronx. Welcome back, everybody. We are now going to head into the final mock draft before the 2026 NFL Draft. Now, excuse me. The first two picks, I've had the same for all three of my mock drafts. I can't see either team going a different direction than this, but especially with the Jets, God knows. So I have the first overall pick being Fernando Mendoza and the second overall pick being Arvell Reese, Ohio State linebacker. Raiders need a quarterback, Jets take best player available, and also need a linebacker. So I can't envision it going any other way than that. However, this is where things start to get slightly different. At 3, I have the Cardinals taking Jeremiah Love, the Notre Dame running back. I know that Love originally started as a late top 10 pick, but he has slowly creeped his way up everyone's draft boards. He's somehow become a favorite for the Giants, who I really don't want us to take him. Look, he's a great prospect. I'm sure he's going to have a great career in the league. We have Scat, we have Tracy, and we need so much more than a running back. So I don't think we should go Jeremiah Love. I'm hoping that he goes to the Cardinals, because then it means that we can't take him. But the Cardinals have a arguably worse running game than the Titans. The Titans at least have Tyjae Spears. The Cardinals are in desperate need of just something. I feel like anyone in this draft could go to the Cardinals because they have so many holes that they have to fill. But Jeremiah Love would open up their offense. It would take pressure off of Jacoby Brissett. It would take pressure off Trey McBride to have 150 receptions every season. So I could see the Cardinals going Love. I do think 3 is a little high, but I can see the Cardinals taking him. I have pick 4 being David Bailey. The Titans get the Texas Tech edge rusher, who has slowly become the edge rushing favorite over Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain has also dealt with a little bit of legal issues regarding car accidents, because as football players do. But David Bailey has become the favorite edge rusher. I had the Titans going Ruben Bain originally. I still have them going edge rusher. I think now that, especially because they have a defensive-minded head coach in Robert Saleh, they're going to want to bolster that defense. And edge rusher is such an important position for them, especially because they'd be pairing someone up with Jeffrey Simmons and creating a very good defensive line. Then at 5, with the Giants' first pick, I have us selecting Sonny Styles, the Ohio State linebacker. I've had us take him in the past 2 mocks. Originally, it was Caleb Downs. Now it's Sonny Styles. Caleb Downs, the issue with me, had that report come out about he may have some degenerative ACL disease that was never confirmed or denied. It could always just be a smokescreen, but I'm at the point where Sonny Styles is just a freak of nature. The dude is 6'5". He's as big and as strong and as fast as Megatron at linebacker, who can also play safety and slot corner. I can't see him failing. I can't see him being at least semi-useful in a defense somewhere. So I think we should go Sonny Styles. He will make an instant impact on the team, be a great addition at linebacker, and pairing him up with Tremaine Edmonds would be so good. At pick 6, I have the Browns going Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate. I think the 2 biggest needs for the Browns in this draft are receiver and offensive line, because they need to be able to supplement Shedeur Sanders. That's all I've talked about when talking about the Browns draft. They need to supplement Shedeur Sanders, and getting him an extra blocker to give him more time in the pocket and a reliable receiver that he can get the ball to when he needs to would go so far in his development. And with who's available, I think that they don't pass up on Carnell Tate, who is an elite talent at wide receiver and would be Shedeur's receiver number 1 pretty much immediately. So I have them taking Carnell Tate. Then I have our first trade of any mock draft I've done. I have the Chiefs moving up 2 picks. They trade with the Commanders. The Chiefs receive the 7th overall pick. The Commanders receive the 9th overall pick, the 74th overall pick, which is the Chiefs' 3rd rounder, and a 4th rounder for next year. So the Chiefs move up 2 picks. The Commanders get some extra compensation, and the Chiefs use this pick on offensive tackle Francis Mauigoa. I could see him going to the Commanders or the Saints. Both are teams with young quarterbacks that want to protect them and could go offensive tackle so that way they can get that blindside blocker for their young guy, whether it be Jaden Daniels or Tyler Shuck. I think the Chiefs need it because they're going to have Mahomes coming off of a torn ACL and they're going to want to protect him. They're going to want to ease him into the lineup and not make him have to do as much with his legs as he did previously because he might not be able to anymore. So I see the Chiefs making a slight trade up just so they can lock down an elite offensive tackle in Francis Mauigoa. They lost out on Jawan Taylor. Obviously, he wasn't the best. He false started a lot, but that's still your starting offensive tackle. So they bring in a guy to replace him who's probably going to be better than him and also help to protect Mahomes, who's going to be coming off of a very bad leg injury. Then I have 2 receivers going. At the 8, I have the Saints taking Arizona State wide receiver Jordan Tyson. Again, gives Tyler Shuck a weapon, adds someone to pair up with Chris Olave, especially after losing out on Rashid Shaheed. They traded him at the trade deadline of last season, went to the Seahawks, won a Super Bowl. Already has had so many iconic moments with that team. But the point is, the Saints are going to go with someone to help Tyler Shuck. And adding a compliment to Chris Olave with Jordan Tyson, who... The only issue with Jordan Tyson is that he does have injury problems. He does have a lot of worries towards his injury history and if he can stay healthy. But if he can, he is an elite level wide receiver. And there's been plenty of guys that have been injury prone in college, came to the NFL and been just fine. So I think it's worth taking a shot, especially considering a lot of teams have him as their best wide receiver over Carnell Tate on their draft boards. And then at 9, I have the Commanders going USC wide receiver Mekhi Lemon. This is definitely a bit of a reach, but most of the good receivers would be gone by the Commanders' next pick. And, excuse me, Terry McLaurin is only getting older. And again, they want to get someone to help out their young quarterback. And getting Jaden Daniels another weapon in Mekhi Lemon would go a long way for his development. Again, especially considering he's coming off of an injury. I'm telling you, this draft is going to be about teams finding their missing piece, about finding their supplement to what they already have to take them one step further. And this is just one of those many picks. I have the Commanders going Mekhi Lemon. Then, with the 10th pick, and this is where the anomaly kind of happens because the Giants didn't have 2 picks in my previous drafts. I had them going Caleb Downs in the first one. I have them going Sonny Styles in the second. And in the third, because why not, the Giants take Caleb Downs with the 10th overall pick. This has to be the ideal scenario. Getting both Downs and Sonny Styles has to be the ideal scenario. I don't know how it wouldn't be. That is 2 elite NFL-ready players on defense in positions that you need. Linebacker and secondary are positions that we need to bolster. And picking up 2 elite talents immediately can get plugged into the team and play at a good level would go so far. I just pray to God that we go with Styles and Downs. It's not that difficult. Then at 11, and obviously as we get past the top 10, going to start going through these a little quicker. At number 10, the Dolphins, who I actually think this guy could go a little higher. I just don't know if the teams need him as much. The Dolphins go LSU corner Mansour Lane. He is a very, very good prospect at corner, and I think that in a lot of other drafts, he could go top 10. I just think there's way too much talent and a lot of teams that don't necessarily need corner as their number one priority. But the Dolphins definitely need corner. They 100% need secondary help, and Mansour Lane would be perfect. Then, excuse me again, I'm sorry. Still getting over that cold. But we are here, ladies and gentlemen, and the Cowboys at pick number 12 with Mansour Lane going off the board take Tennessee cornerback Jermod McCoy. They had one of the, if not the worst defense in the league last season. This is insanely self-explanatory. They pick up a corner, a guy to add to their secondary, especially after they cut Trayvon Diggs, so now they need corner. Delane's not on the board. Next best option is McCoy. they make that pick. That makes sense in my mind. The Rams, I have them going with Utah offensive tackle Spencer Fano. This pick could go very many ways. I could see them going Omar Cooper Jr., the Indiana receiver. I could see them going Olavavega-Ione, the Penn State interior offensive lineman. But with the retirement of Rob Havenstein and Stafford only getting older, despite the fact that he is still playing at an elite level, getting another blindside tackle would go so far. And the fact that Fano falls to 13 in this draft, he's another guy that I could totally see going top 10 in any other draft. So that's a pick that I don't think that they could pass up. Protecting Matt Stafford, getting an offensive tackle for the future at a position where in a lot of other drafts he wouldn't have been available where you're picking. Then, due to them going Fano, I have the Ravens going Ione, the Penn State offensive guard. Best offensive guard in the draft, Ravens, the interior offensive line. That's an easy pick. I don't know who else they would go there, honestly, unless they went Omar Cooper Jr., because the Ravens could also use a receiver. Zay Flowers is not a receiver one. I'm sorry. He's just not. Too many fumble problems. Too many just hands issues in general. I just can't see Zay Flowers as a receiver one. However, I could see them going Omar Cooper to try and get that receiver one, but I have them going Olavavega-Ione. Long name. Then I have Ruben Bain finally going, because despite all the controversy, he is still an elite talent. The fact that he even fell to 15 is kind of outlandish, but we know how it goes with pre-draft stock drops. It's so easy for people to hurt their own draft stock, and unfortunately, Ruben Bain did that. I have him going to the Buccaneers at pick 15. I originally had them going with David Bailey, actually, but he has shot up my draft board while Bain has gone down. So they still end up with an elite pass rusher. They just don't get the same guy that I originally put them with. Again, you add a compliment to Vita Vea. The guys that you have right now just have not gotten it done, and you need to get pressure on the quarterback. You can't rely only on your secondary, which is what the Bucs resorted to a lot last season, and it caused them to lose games. So they need to start getting better pressure on the quarterback, and putting Ruben Bain on a D-line that already has Vita Vea would 100% do that. Then, this is the first time I've actually changed this pick. I don't have the Jets going Ty Simpson at 16. I have the Jets taking Omar Cooper, actually. They did just trade for Geno, and I think Ty Simpson still has a chance of being available at their pick. If not, they just trade up into the late first round and take him there. I still think that they get Ty Simpson, whether it be with their second or if they trade up into the first. The Cardinals, I also could see taking him. I could even see the Steelers making a reach at 21 and taking him. But I just think there's too much talent at other positions for Ty Simpson to go in the first round, so I don't have the Jets taking him anymore. At 17, the Lions go Georgia offensive tackle Monroe Freeling. They just lost Taylor Decker due to contract disputes. They pick up an offensive tackle to replace him. Self-explanatory. The Vikings, who just lost Harrison Smith, pick up Oregon safety Dylan Thieneman. Again, they need to replace that position. They replace it here. Self-explanatory. At 19, I have the Panthers taking Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq, and this would turn them into an extremely dynamic and fun team to watch. It would mean that their offense is Bryce Young, Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks, Tedero McMillan, Xavier Legette, and Jalen Coker, and Kenyon Sadiq. That is a dynamic offense. That's a fun offense. I really like that. I think that's a perfect pick. It gives Bryce Young a safety valve that he has not had his entire career, and I think that could benefit his development so much, because we're already starting to see him kind of come out of his shell and show that he was worthy of the first overall pick. And getting him a guy like Kenyon Sadiq, who he knows he can throw it to and trust to catch it, would go so far. Pick 20, Cowboys go Keldrick Falk. Again, so desperate for defensive help, especially at the edge rushing position. They already have Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark, so D-tackle is locked down. So if they can pick up an edge rusher, especially a guy like Keldrick Falk, who again, in any other draft I could see going higher, would go a very long way for that defense. Is it going to help? I don't know. The Cowboys seem to defy all logic and just suck constantly. But I think it would be a big help, especially if they're able to get Jamad McCoy earlier in the first. Then at 21, I have the Steelers going Texas A&M receiver Casey Concepcion. Like I said, could go Ty Simpson here, but I'm still under the impression that they end up with Aaron Rodgers, and it's going to be Aaron Rodgers last season. If he does come back, it's his last year. I'm fairly confident of that. So they're going to want to get him another receiver other than DK Metcalf, especially with the loss of Calvin Austin. Get Aaron Rodgers another weapon and let him do his magic. At 22, I have the Chargers going Miami edge rusher Akeem Mesidor. They haven't officially brought Khalil Mack back yet. They're expecting to, but even if they do, he's like 36. He's going to retire any season now, and they need an edge rusher anyway. So they get a guy that not only can complement Khalil Mack while he's here, but then also replace him once he's gone. 23, Eagles, I have them going Caden Proctor. That was the same as last draft. Caden Proctor is another guy I could see going top 10 in a different draft, but there's just so much talent, and the Eagles, like I said last time, end up stealing a really good Alabama prospect way later than they should be drafted. It's either Alabama or Georgia with them. At 24, the Browns get that offensive tackle I was talking about and take excuse me, Clemson offensive tackle Blake Miller. Protect Shador's blind side, give him more time to get the ball to Carnell Tate. At 25, the Bears go Toledo safety Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. They just lost out on Jaquan Brisker. They need another safety. It's a similar situation to the Vikings. They need to replace safety. They're picking where there's a safety available, and at a fair pick, too. It's not like they're reaching on him. So they take him and replace their safety. Self-explanatory. At 26, I have the Bills going with not a receiver for the first time. I have them going with edge rusher TJ Parker from Clemson. A big issue with the Bills, one of their main issues has been their run defense, and it's an issue that I think if they addressed it would immediately make them Super Bowl favorites. If they could get their defense in line and take the pressure off Josh Allen to have to score 30 points a game, I think they're all immediately Super Bowl favorites for me, especially now that they got DJ Moore. So now receiver isn't necessarily as much of a need. They could go in the second or third just to get someone to pair up with DJ Moore. But getting an edge rusher to go with Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau and the rest of that D-line that should be playing at an elite level could finally propel them to that elite level. At 27, the Niners go offensive tackle Caleb Lomu. Despite bringing back Trent Williams, they do still need another offensive tackle. And that's why I said it was so important that they did re-sign Trent Williams, because now they only have to worry about getting one offensive tackle. They don't have to worry about replacing two. So they have Trent Williams locked in to mentor the guy that they bring in the draft, and I think Lomu would be perfect for that. He played with Spencer Fano at Utah, so he's been in the presence of a great offensive tackle already, and playing with Trent Williams I think would do so much for his development and turn him into an elite option for the Niners in the future. Then with most of the good offensive linemen gone, I have the Texans going with defensive lineman Peter Woods. He is a defensive tackle out of Clemson, and this would turn their defense into one of the best I think we've ever seen. That defensive line becomes terrifying, even more terrifying than it already is. I think that if the Texans can't go offensive line, they should go defense and just go all in and be like, you know what, we're going to make the best defense we can. If the offensive players we want aren't available, we're going to make the best defense we can. I think they go O-line in the second round, though. If they don't go O-line in the first, they definitely go O-line in the second. Then at 29, the Chiefs, after losing out on Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, take Clemson cornerback Avion Terrell. The next best option behind Delane and Jermon McCoy, and not a bad option at all. Avion Terrell is a great pick, especially at 29. He bolsters a very weak Chiefs cornerback core after they lose out on their main guys. It's a pick that, again, just makes sense. Then I have Denzel Boston going to the Miami Dolphins at pick 30. This has to be a receiver. This cannot be anyone other than a receiver, with the fact that their current receiving core is Jalen Tolbert and Tutu Atwell and Malik Washington. They need receiver, and Denzel Boston gives them a big frame, a 6'4", just go up and get it guy that they so desperately need right now. And then for our last two picks, the Patriots, I think I've said the same thing every time, and I will continue to say it. They get an edge rusher. It's the one position that they really could use an upgrade in and would take them to that next level. Getting pressure on the quarterback would go so far for that defense that already has a lockdown corner in Christian Gonzalez. So they go edge rusher Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M. And then the Seahawks, after losing out on Tariq Woolen through free agency, go with the next best option and draft Tennessee cornerback Colton Hood. So that's the mock draft. That's my final mock draft before the draft this Thursday. That leaves the best available as Max Iheanacho, Arizona State offensive tackle, Caden McDonald, the Ohio State defensive tackle, and Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, the second best quarterback, in my opinion, in this draft. So Keep your eyes on the TV, on your TVs this Thursday and Friday and Saturday as the NFL draft happens and see what players go to which teams. With that being said, we are going to head into our second set of announcements. With over 750,000 views in the last 90 days, our social media is popping. Be a part of the trend. Follow 1077 The Bronx to see what we're up to on air and behind the scenes on Instagram at 1077 The Bronx and on TikTok at 1077 The Bronx WRRC. After you follow The Bronx on social media, sport The Bronx on and off campus. Gear up for summer by shopping the Bronx General Store. From short sleeve tees and polos to insulated drinkware for your acai refresher, go to 1077thebronx.com/shop the Bronx to make your campus fashion statement. We'll be back with more Football Squared after these underwriting announcements. While you're waiting for the return of my show, don't forget to like and follow The Bronx on Instagram at 1077 The Bronx and on TikTok at 1077 The Bronx WRRC.
There's just something about Rider University.
Mornings are always better when you tune into 1077 The Bronx, two-time IBS Media Award-winning Best Morning Show, Wake Up Rider. Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Join Sophia, RJ, Ellis, Brian, Lathan, Brandon, and Sheer for 2 hours of fun and games, including the Monday Morning Hangover, underwritten by McGuinn's Place, and the all-new Morning Bagel Run and Jewelry Spree, underwritten by Caesar Bagels and Deli, and Peroni's Hidden Treasures in Mercerville. Go to 1077thebronx.com/wakeuprider to listen live on air, online, on app, and to catch up on past episodes. Welcome back to Football Squared on the Princeton Review's number 18th ranked best college radio station, 1077 The Bronx. So, as always, with the time we have left, we will delve into the world of the Premier League. We had our first official relegation this week with Wolves' 3-0 loss to Leeds. They are officially confirmed to be relegated down to the championship. Goals from James Justin, Noah Okafor, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin were enough to send Leeds to a win and Wolves down a league. Man of the match there goes to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and actually, we have our first promotion as well. Congratulations to Coventry City, led by Frank Lampard, the Chelsea legend. They are back in the Premier League for the first time in 25 years. So we have our first relegation and our first promotion, and the next relegation and or promotion could be coming any day now. With where we are in the season, any win or loss is crucial for the teams that are fighting to stay in their leagues or gain promotion to the next one. Up next, we had Brentford against Fulham, which ended in a 0-0 draw. A goalkeeping masterclass from Quaveen Kelleher was enough to give him man of the match for Brentford. Quaveen. It makes me so happy seeing the ex-Liverpool man himself do well. I always loved him when he was with the team. One of the best backup keepers in the world at the time, and now proving why he deserved that starting job at Brentford. Happy for him, and I'm glad he's doing well. Up next, Bournemouth took down Newcastle. Newcastle continue a very disappointing season. Their one goal scored by William Osula in the 68th minute, but goals from Marcus Tavernier and Adrian Truffert were too much for Newcastle to handle, and Bournemouth were able to get a win here. Man of the match there goes to Adrian Truffert. Then we had Spurs taking on Brighton. It looked as if Spurs had rescued 3 points and given their relegation cause some hope, but Jorginho Rudder in the 90th minute plus 5 minutes of extra time was able to disappoint Spurs and earn 1 point for Brighton. Spurs only getting 1 point out of a game where they very well could have gotten 3 is detrimental in their race to get out of the relegation zone, and now it's looking even less likely that Spurs stay up. They may actually get relegated, which would be unbelievable. I don't know how to process that, seeing a team that's supposed to be one of the big 6 in the championship. But I will say, if it's going to be any one of the teams, it's the history of the Tottenham, in the great words of Jose Mourinho. But yeah, it's just been a bad season for Tottenham, and there will be a fire sale. Trust me, if they get relegated, there's going to be a fire sale of that team. Up next, Man United took down Chelsea 1-0. Mateus Cunha with the lone goal and also the Man of the Match award was enough to give United a much-needed win in their race to get top 4 in Champions League soccer for next season. Then we had a 7-goal thriller between Aston Villa and Sunderland. Villa ended up winning that 4-3 off of a Tammy Abraham 90th minute plus 3 minutes of extra time winner. Other goals come from an Ollie Watkins brace and a Morgan Rogers goal. On the other side of the ball, Chris Rigg, Trey Hume, and Wilson Isidore scored the goals for Sunderland. Ollie Watkins ultimately got himself man of the match on top of his brace that propelled Aston Villa to a much-needed win over Sunderland. Up next, my personal favorite game of the week, Liverpool taking down Everton in their first ever game at the new Hill Dickinson Stadium. Virgil van Dijk with a late 90th minute plus 10 minutes of extra time game-winning header off of a corner, assisted by none other than Dominic Szoboszlai. Other goal scored by Mohamed Salah in the 29th minute. Man of the match there will go to the defender, Virgil van Dijk, who has slowly, after a rocky start to the season, started to show his class again and started to show that, hey, I can still play at this elite level that you all know I can play at, and I couldn't be happier to see it. It did make me slightly sad seeing Mo Salah score. It's his last ever Merseyside derby. He's leaving at the end of the season, and it's going to suck, man. Both him and Andy Robertson. I don't think we went over that. Andy Robertson is also confirmed to be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season. I can't deal with this. We're losing 2 club legends in the same season after losing so many in the past 3. We lost Firmino, Thiago, Klopp, Trent left last season. Everyone's leaving. This is so sad. I hate it. But yeah, Mo scores in his last Merseyside derby because, of course, he does. That's the Egyptian king right there. Up next, Nottingham Forest took down Burnley. Morgan Gibbs-White with a 15-minute hat-trick. Goals in the 62nd, 69th, and 77th were enough to get him man of the match and a win for Nottingham Forest. The other goal scored by Igor Jesus in the 90th minute plus 8 minutes of extra time. And Nottingham Forest have had a very shaky season, but they are fighting to stay alive and stay out of the relegation zone, and a 4-1 win against Burnley is a very good way to do it. And then 2 more games to cover before we end our show for this week. There is a game today and 2 games tomorrow. Today we have Brighton against Chelsea at 3, and then tomorrow also at 3, Bournemouth against Leeds and Burnley against Man City. So tune in for those games. Some of them have very big implications. The Man City game, obviously, in the title race, Man City is now tied on points after beating Arsenal last week, which I will get into in a second. Chelsea fighting for top 4, Leeds fighting to stay out of relegation. These are some very, very important games to tune into tomorrow. Yesterday, Crystal Palace and West Ham had a 0-0 draw. Man of the match there goes to Palace goalkeeper Dean Henderson. But my personal favorite game of the week, Man City taking down Arsenal at the Etihad 2-1. Goals from Ryan Cherky and Erling Haaland put Man City level on points with Arsenal. And now, due to, they're winning their games over Arsenal and having a better goal difference, Manchester City are top of the Premier League. They bottled it. They actually bottled it. Arsenal have fully bottled it and are now in a life or death fight with Man City for the title. They're going to do it again. Oh my God, they're actually going to finish second again, and it's going to be incredible. I cannot wait. I am such an Arsenal hater, and I do not care. The only goal from Arsenal scored by Kai Havertz. Man of the match there goes to the robot himself, Erling Haaland. So, winding down in the Premier League season, every game becomes important. Every game is going to be must watch, and we are going to cover every single one of them until the show is over. Thank you for staying here for the entire thing, if you did. We'll be back, as always, next Tuesday from 10 to 11 a.m. Stay tuned for more of the biggest hits and best variety on the Princeton Review's number 18th best college radio station, 3-time 2026 IBS Media Award winner, and 5-time NAB Marconi Radio Award nominee for College Radio Station of the Year, 107.7 The Bronx. That was Football Squared. Thank you all for tuning in for another week.
Doesn't matter what hour of the day it is, I'm always hungry. Thankfully, 107.7 The Bronx, WRRC-FM, Lawrenceville, New Jersey has my back because they know that people